Like, that's the power of choice. That's why I decided to do all this, because like you make a choice and you follow through on your choice, and then you make another choice, you make another choice. And it really just builds into something so beautiful and powerful. Like, and that ownership is incomparable to anything else. Because instead of giving your power away to some like random person or circumstance, you take it back.
Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting show, the About That Water podcast. Today, we have somebody who is a wonderful storyteller who is very familiar with this podcast, and you all should know who she is. I mean, last time we talked, we were talking about being barefoot pregnant. Now we're going to be talking about like the discussion of a memoir and why she even decided to publish it on her upcoming podcast series as well, which will be coming out early 2026. So I really can't wait to get this started. How you doing today, Jen?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Anthony. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been some time. You know, you say that you've been doing some storytelling, some coaching, and some voice acting as well. So how's that been?
That's the crazy one.
Right. Well, do tell.
So I wrote this. I had started writing this journal, about a decade ago, as a way to process some of the trauma from childhood. The therapist was all like, "This would be good for you." I was like, but as I was working on it, I started to feel like, yeah, maybe this was good for me. And so about a year into it, I had written all this material, and I sat down with my mom one day. She'd been a very focal part of it, and not in a very positive way, but it was a really like a sobering moment because, as I sat there and I read the chapters to her, we cried together. And it was very emotional. And she looked at me and she was like, "You've got to publish this." And I was like, that was not the response I was expecting, because I was like, you did hear what I wrote, right? And she was
Right.
like, "Yeah," but she's like, "It's beautiful." And I said, "But it doesn't really paint you great." And she says, "That's my cross to bear. I did those things and I have to own them. But this is a story that you need to tell because people need to hear it." And it resonates. And I heard her, but, sometimes we don't make decisions very quickly for whatever reason. Fear holds us back. Doubt holds us back. Our own insecurities hold us back. We make excuses. But I put it back on the shelf and I didn't do anything with it. So she ended up passing away, and it still was on the shelf. So about a year or so ago, I decided to pick it back up. And I said, I think it's time to put this together and actually turn it into something meaningful, because it was something that she saw in me and saw as this vision of what could be. And I think it's time to honor that. I'm at a place where I'm ready to say, okay, I'm going to share this story. So I went and I did the work, hired a content editor who was like, "Oh, slash out all this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Wow.
You brought it bone dry. But sometimes that's what you got to do, right? You got to take out all the noise to get to really the heart of it. And what I ended up with after, all of the slashing and the cutting and the editing was just, I guess, for lack of a better word, was just beautiful, raw story. And so I decided to release it on the anniversary of her passing. So this will be 6 years from when she passed away. And I wanted to do that to honor her, to tell her that, look, I know that the story doesn't paint you as the best person, but you were my motivation, you were my champion, and you changed, right? So she made those changes in her own life. And we aren't defined by our circumstances or the mistakes that we've made in the past. We are defined by the choices that we make in our present, right? That's decisions that we make today are what create our tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I did the book.
That's very powerful to take a moment and commend that. And I mean, I give you like kudos because I really want to see, you know, you putting out to the world exactly how you feel. And I was just having that discussion was about your personal stories and your personal feelings are valid growing up, regardless of what happened and regardless of how the parent feels. Your feelings are valid in that moment. And that's good that she actually, you actually shared that with her before her passing versus letting it be and like, man, I really wish I would have said this, or I really wish I would have told her this. And a lot of people have a lot of regret on actually
Yeah,
saying how they really feel.
yeah.
So, I mean, how are you feeling now about all of this?
It feels really good, because it I mean, for her and I, it was a transformative moment, right? It took us from being these two strangers living in the same house to actually being able to start forging a mother-daughter relationship because, um, I she saw the wounds that she had caused, and I saw her vulnerability.
Wow. And can you talk about how the discussion came about? Like,
Oh, well, so it was interesting 'cause I had, printed, well, I guess I had it printed up because I wrote it in a journal, right? So it was in a book. And I was carrying the book around with me, and, I went to her room. I'd gone to visit her, and I was like, "Hey, I was hoping I could share something with you." And she was like, "Sure, what do you want to share?" And I was like, "Well, I've been writing this journal, and I wanted to share a couple of pieces of it with you, if that's okay." And she was like, "Sure. Do you want to read it to me?" I was like, "Well, no." And she was like, "Well, I would really prefer it if you were to read it to me." And I was like, "Well, I've got to be honest. It's a little bit about, the past." And so it was very uncomfortable in the beginning of the conversation. And I'm like, it's not like, and it doesn't exactly. And she's like, "Just read it." And I was like, "Hey, I'm a grown adult." And I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable. So she's like, "Hop on the bed." And so I hopped on the bed and I just started reading it. And as I'm reading it, I turn and look at her, and like tears are, start streaming down her face. And I'm like, "Do you want me to stop?" And she's like, "Don't stop, keep reading." And so then that made me emotional. So I'm getting choked up as I'm reading it. And so we're both kind of like, "Whoa," but but she doesn't want me to stop reading.
Mm.
And then at one point I'm like, "Okay, I think we should stop now." And she was like, "That was absolutely beautiful." And I was like, "Did did she hear anything I said? Were
Oh.
we in the same room listening to the same story?"
Mhm.
And then she was like, "I didn't know that you had gone through those things and had those, like, I didn't realize that that's how you had felt and that those were your experiences." And she was like, "I feel like I've learned a part of you that I didn't know existed."
That is really cool that y'all had that moment. Like, was it what part of it that kind of shocked her the most?
That's a good question. I guess it was knowing, like, so in the book, I talk about, in the very early chapters, I talk about these boys that were, like, like molesting me, in the playground and in different areas, and touching me, basically touching me where I don't want them to. And um and and having this moment where I'm trying to reclaim my power, over the situation, because I know that if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it, and I'm going to be a victim, and I don't want to be a victim. And so seeing um, that strength in me and that refusal to be anybody's victim, was powerful for her. Seeing that moment of, my daughter, wasn't going to allow herself to be continuously abused by these boys. Um, and so she took up and she stood up for herself, even though it was hard, even though it was scary, even though everyone around her, stood by and watched it happen. Um, that wasn't going to be her story. She was, you know, she was willing to, like, go to the ends of the earth to stop it from happening.
Wow, that is very powerful. growing up with this now, how has that actually, like, now that the book is out, how has it been impactful to with you and your children now, and also your current husband?
With the book,
Hmm.
well, I don't think that that has impacted too much. It was funny. So I had my husband do final edits for me. And so he had to read the whole book and make sure that all my I's were dotted, T's were crossed, everything was good. And he was like, my God.
Okay.
He said, "Don't let my mother read your book."
Oh no. Why would
I was like, ouch.
Why do you say that?
He said it was too raw, too real. And that he didn't think she was ready for it. And I said, I understand. It's not for everybody.
Yeah. So what was your upbringing like? Like, take us back to, I guess, your early childhood memory of, like, something that was fun that you remember growing up.
Something that was fun.
Yeah.
Um, so I had an auntie that whenever she was around, it was the best time because I don't know, there was just something about her. She had a glow about her, her personality. She was just the sweetest, kindest person that I had ever met in my life. And so whenever I was around her, there was just this like energy magnetic. And um, so when she was around us, we would go to the beach or to theme parks and places like that. And it didn't matter. It didn't even matter where we went. Like we could be in at her backyard in her house grilling, and I was having the time of my life because it was just being in her presence was such a joy. And I remember saying to myself, I want to be just like her one day because she's just so like she's so vibrant. She's so alive. I can't even put it into words. She's just such an amazing, like, you just were drawn to her. Like, it was magnetic, right? Here I'm this little kid and I'm just sitting there staring at her. And she's like, what do you want, mamita? And I'm like, nothing. What you doing? And she's like, I'm just sitting here
Right.
reading a book. Like, what's the book? Best time of my life, just listening to her talk about, her book or whatever she was doing and getting on with. And, if she would tell me a story, it was just the best story. I don't care what she was talking about. I was
Mhm.
engaged. So yeah, I liked being around people that had good energy and just made you feel seen.
And was that something that carried on throughout your life? So, did you go to the military or armed
I did
service?
go to the military. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can talk about how did that that enjoyment carried on throughout, or even brought you through going to that service.
Well, going to the service was a great experience. I actually loved boot camp. A lot of people are like, why? How? What? It's like boot camp was the best. I loved the experience. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was just like something about the order and the structure and the way that everything was set up. I mean, even the workouts, like even though they were hard, I knew that they were part of something greater. Like you weren't just doing a workout just for the sake of doing a workout. Like there was a rhyme, there was a reason, there was a purpose. Like everything was designed to get you to a point. And I like that. I like knowing that I'm moving in a path that's getting me closer towards where I want to be. And so I enjoyed it. I actually thrived really well there and ended up receiving an award at
Oh,
the end of the graduation ceremony. So yes, it was a good experience. And then I went to A school. I did pretty decently there. Ended up getting a special assignment afterwards. And that's kind of where it went a little south for me because my health took a turn. And so I was medically let go. But, you know, we never know what path is in store for us. So that wasn't the path for me. But I would have stayed if given the chance because I enjoyed the life.
yeah. So, and you met your husband in the military
I
too, right?
did. I did.
Nice.
And he stayed the whole time. And he was like, I wish we could have traded places. And I was like, because he said, you were the one that was all gun ho. And, you were like the super sailor. And I was just like, average Joe. So, well, it was meant for me to just, motivate you.
It probably need like the flame, the kindle flame for him. Get
Yeah,
it
yeah,
started.
it got him through. He eventually, got to retirement age and then retired, and so, he did it. Proud of him.
That's awesome because one of the things that we kind of miss out on is sometimes is that we in certain places for certain reasons for certain people, even
Yes,
though we might not finish it, we get them to get started. And that's all we are sometimes. We could just be, I like to call it the alternator. Just get
yes,
started for the car, right?
yes, yes, yes. I love that. Exactly, exactly. Sometimes you think you're in a place for yourself, but you're actually in a place for someone else, and that's okay too. You know,
Yes.
and when that time is done, you move on, go on to the next part of your journey.
Yeah. So has anybody else come to you and say, you know what? Thank you for sharing your story and being there to kind of get me started.
Yes, so I had a friend when I was working for another agency, and he he was working part time. He was down on his luck, and he was having a really hard time. And him and I started, kind of talking and working together. And he was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like nothing seems to work. I keep trying and everything fails. And I was like, well, what are you trying to do? And so he's like, I don't even know. And I was like, well, maybe start with figuring out what that is. And so I was like, think about it and then get back to me and let's talk about it. So next time he got back to me, he was like, you know what? I thought about it and this is what I want. I want a full-time job. I want to have a steady place to live. Um, and I want to be cancer free. And I was like, okay, those are some, some lofty goals. but but all right. So said let's work on the first thing. Let's get you the steady job. So what's holding you back? And he's like, well, I think my resume. I was like, well, let me look at it. And I looked at his resume. I was like, okay, I can see. Whew. Okay, so it's definitely your resume.
Hmm.
We can work on that. We can work on that. So we fixed the resume up, submitted it, because he had a great personality, right? So as soon as he resubmitted it, boom, got the full-time job. Easy as pie.
Awesome.
It was like a matter of I think a few weeks or something. It was really fast. So then he was like, I can't believe I got the full-time job. I was like, yeah, of course you got a full-time job because you're qualified. You just didn't show it. You did it wasn't on paper. Like your paper had nothing. Your paper had, it had his name,
Mhm.
address. I was like, you have a little more than that, bro.
Oh, this.
It's just, but so anyway, so after that, like then he went and got a place because now he had a full-time job, so he had a source of income. And shortly after that, um, he got really aggressive with his therapy. So he stopped missing it. Like he wasn't missing any appointments. He was going all the time. And I think I want to say it was like 6 months or so. He went into remission. And like I wasn't expecting that. I honestly did not expect him to go into remission because like I didn't think you could actually like I know people go into remission, but I didn't think like you could actively will yourself into remission. But I'm a believer now that you can. So like, cause he did it. And like, I was like, dude, okay. So it works.
Yeah.
You did it because you went and you made sure you didn't miss a single session. You did everything you had to do and you went into remission. Like, bro, you achieved everything that was on your list. What's next for you? And he was like, whoa, whoa.
Right. Like, let me take this in first.
Like,
Let me get dinner.
you
Right.
know, he's like, I'm good for now, but thank you. It's like, all right. But that's to me the power. Like that's the power of choice. And that's why I decided to do all this because like you make a choice and you follow through on your choice and then you make another choice and you make another choice. And it really just builds into something so beautiful and powerful. Like and that ownership is incomparable to anything else because instead of giving your power away to some like random person or circumstance, you take it back. And it's the same with finances. You say I have all these debts and all these things and all these problems, but and it's this thing's fault or this thing's fault or this thing's fault, but what choices have you made that led you to this path, and what choices can you make to lead you out of it? It's very simple.
Yeah.
I say that it's very simple. I know it's not
It's
simple.
simple, but not easy.
All right.
No, it's simple, but not easy. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It's because like they say, oh yeah, we can just go to the moon. Sure. It sounds simple, but it's not easy to do.
Right.
Yeah, we got you.
But it starts with the making of a choice is simple. I am choosing to take this action. The action itself may be hard, but the choice is simple. And then following through on that choice and following through on that action, that's where the hard work comes in. And that's why it's easier to say it's someone else's fault or the circumstance or, it's everything else that's causing the problem because it's easier to accept that you are not responsible for your circumstances than it is to say, I'm going to change my circumstances because I own myself and my presence.
I mean, mic drop moment, but yes.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. It's good. It's good stuff. So talk about your podcast. So what is it about? What is it called? So we can all tune in.
Okay. Yeah. So the podcast is called The Impossible Shift. I kept it super simple, man.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
The book is The Impossible Shift. The podcast is The Impossible Shift, the podcast. There's going to be 10 episodes in a season and then like 8-week break in between the seasons. The first season, is each story is about 6 minutes long and each episode is about 6 minutes long. It's a short story revolving just I'm a storyteller, so I tell stories. Obviously you can hear that. And so I try to keep it short and sweet. Each story is a little mini lesson. So you take away with it, just digest it, do whatever you want with it, take away whatever you want with it from it. And hopefully you hear it, it resonates, and you actually take some action from it because you've only dedicated 6 minutes. So you've got the whole rest of the time of your day to actually say, I'm going to make some action. I'm going to make some choices.
Going back to the simple things of having a choice and then you got to put in the work.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
So what is your target audience? Like who should be tuning in?
So I primarily focus on folks that are looking to improve in their like workplace and relationships because those are the areas that I have the most experience in. I'm not closed off to other areas, but I think that those 2 areas are where my strengths lie. So I would probably prefer to stay in my lane. But if someone came to me and was like some huge story that's completely like, I never heard that before. I'm very interested. Maybe just for the experience, but then we're
Mhm.
navigating it in these waters, both a little unsure. I don't know if that would be very value added.
Well, that's the beauty of podcasting. We can always shift it back.
Yes, 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 yes.
Right. We got it. And so this will be mostly solo interview style. I know I'm trying to go behind the scenes a little bit here, but just kind of so people can know what to expect.
Season 1 is solo. I have been working on the concept for season 2, considering making it more podcast style like you with interviews, but I think I'm leaning towards doing that for season 3 as opposed to season 2 because I have a different vision for what season 2 is going to look like. I kind of want season 2 to be more focused on, you've heard the stories about making the choices. Now let's talk about what those choices look like in season 2. And then season 3 would be bringing guests on to kind of share some of their experiences with actively making choices. That's kind of how it feels like rhythmically to me would make the most sense.
I like that. That's perfect. Great setup. Definitely, I'll be tuning in. And is there anything you want to leave the audience before we dive into the final 4 questions?
Oh, what do I want to leave the audience with? Well, the most important thing to leave the audience with is remember your agency, right? Is your power is in your choice. That's don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Your choice is your power, it's your gift, it's your blessing, it's your freedom, it's your voice. Okay.
Yeah, love that. So you ready for the final 4?
Yes.
Alrighty. So these are the final 4 questions that I typically ask every guest to kind of get to know a little bit more about them. And so, number 1, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means, to me, I think a combination of things like, money is part of wealth, but I don't think it's the full spectrum because as someone with disabilities, I find that it's not the most important thing. Like, um, now obviously I want to have, you know, financial wealth to pass on to my children, but I find wealth in companionship. I find wealth in my relationships. I find wealth in building and creating. So just I think in general, wealth is from having a fully rounded, holistic um, sense of self worth. And that's very value added to me. So when you combine that with the financial security and, because you can be very financial secure and feel very terrible about yourself. And then are you really wealthy? Like, I mean, I guess maybe, but not really.
Yeah, good one. Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
If I say the car I bought for my husband, he'd get mad.
Well, he can listen to it later. Hey, look, you aired out everything else. Let me stop.
Yeah,
That's your final answer?
yeah,
Okay.
that's the final answer.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to number 3. Number 3. Is there a book that inspired your journey or changed your perspective?
I think maybe Rich Dad, Poor Dad was really helpful. Because I liked how he was comparing the experiences. But I've read a lot of different self-help books from some of the older generations, and I think their messaging, it was all very similar, like the similar tones. The power of choice seem to resonate a lot to me. They don't actually say that, but that's kind of implied.
All right. Number 4. What is your favorite dish to make?
My favorite dish to make is roasted chicken with potatoes.
Nice. Now, like the red potatoes.
I actually use russet potatoes and I cut them up into little cubes. And then I season the potatoes separately, and then I add them to the chicken, and then I cook the chicken in a clay pot, covered,
Mhm.
so that the potatoes cook in the chicken juice, and it comes out quite nice.
That sounds really
Yeah.
good. Like, 'cause I'm actually thinking like, huh, how would that taste like? I mean, I might need to see a picture of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to
next
take a
time you
picture
make it.
of it and post it on my Insta or something.
Yes. Because I would like to see that. I was like, now I can imagine, when you post it, I'll actually make sure I have a link to it
Yeah.
in the show notes so people can go check it out.
Yeah, my family loves it. They're like, "Please make the chicken." I hold it hostage.
Right. Well, I got the very last question
Alright.
of the show, which is where can people find out more about you?
Well, I've got my website, jennifersbenson.com, and I'm still developing it. So it's not very robust, but it does have some good information there. I also got my social media channels, so you could reach out to me there. I try to be present and available. You know, reach out for a chat.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Jen.
Thank
This
you.
has been amazing. It's great. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing your story because this is really good to kind of catch up with you and see where you've been doing and what you've been up to. Can't wait to tune into your podcast.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Yes.
Take care.
All right, you do the
All right,
same.
bye.
All right, see ya.